We're going to be doing skin retouching for this image, and yeah, this tutorial is about melanin skin retouching and color grading in Photoshop. So stick around as we retouch this image, and this tutorial is a full one. So I'll show you guys the details of frequency separation and how you can achieve that frequency separation group to the retouching, removing the blemishes, and we are going to also do some little bit of global dodging and banding to add dimension to this image, and you can see the model really looks amazing. And we are going to add some little bit of catch lights to the model's eyes. You can see the eye looks really plain black, so we're also going to fix that. So stick around as we retouch this image. And if at all you are new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the like button if at all you learn something from this specific tutorial. So you shouldn't like if at all you don't learn anything, sorry. So let's kick in and start doing this. So what frequency separation does, it divides the image into two, that is the color and the texture. So it puts the colors in one layer, and it also puts the textures in another layer. So that is why it is called frequency separation. So let's retouch this image. So first of all, we're going to make two layers. We're going to make one, that is the color layer, and the second one is going to be our texture layer. So just come and click on your background layer and click Ctrl J twice, or Command J twice for Mac users. So again, we are going to name the lower layer color, or you can name it low frequency, LF, and the upper layer is going to be our texture layer. Remember, a skin texture is always on top, that's why the texture layer is always on top. Or we can name this texture or high frequency layer. So these are two layers we're going to use. So as usual, turn off this uh, texture layer and select your color or low frequency layer. Then come to filter, then come to blur, then come to Gaussian blur. So we are going to blur this image until we see less of the skin texture of our model. So let's zoom in and select the area that has more skin texture. So we're going to zoom, slide this radius until we see less of the radius, less of the skin texture. I hope you understand. So we're going to slide this until we see less of the skin texture, but we can as well still see the facial details. So slide this. Let us just do this. So we are going to go in for a radius of around 10. 10 is fine because you can still notice that these are the eyes and these are the lips of the model. So click OK. So come back to the texture or high frequency layer and activate it. So we are going to subtract the textures from this very layer right here. So we're going to come to image, apply image. So when you click apply image, this is going to be like your default. So remember you're subtracting the texture from this very layer, then click color, make sure you have selected this, then come to the blending options and select, remember you're subtracting the textures from the colors. So make sure you put your opacity at 100%, the scale make sure it is 2 and the offset 128. Make sure invert is not checked and these two boxes are not checked. So as you can see now, the image right now, we have gotten the texture. You can see there is no color in this image, so we only have the outlines and the textures of this particular image. So come to the blending options and select linear light. So when you select linear light, the image will come back to its default, as you can see. So let's group this and we see if at all we did frequency separation right. Select the two layers by holding down the shift and clicking on the lower layer and click Ctrl G. Yeah, click Ctrl G or Command G to put these two layers in a group. So frequency separation divides the image into two, that is the color and the texture layer. So that is majorly what we have done. So make sure after you have done these settings right here, make sure the image is also like this, like the original image. So let's put these two in a group. So just drag them and put them in a group. So we're going to rename this frequency separation. I'm going to name this FS. So you can see when I turn this on and off, you can see there is no change between the original and our edited image. So that is basically a successful frequency separation for our group. So click right here and drop down, and now we are going to use the mixer brush tool first of all to blend or even out these skin tones of our model. Then come right here and create first of all a black and white layer on top of the texture layer. So make sure first of all you select the texture or high frequency layer and create a black and white layer. So you're going to darken this by dragging down the red channel. As you can see, it is now becoming dark. The reason for doing this is because we want to see the uneven skin transitions. Sorry, we are going to we want to see the uneven skin transitions of our model. So this is it. So we're going to get our mixer brush tool and click right here, or you can just right click there and you find your mixer brush tool right here. And for the settings for the mixer brush tool, these are the settings. Make sure it is a clean brush. Yeah, right here, make sure it is clean, and make sure this right here is checked right here, it is selected, and make sure your wetness, we're going to use a wetness of 10%. The reason for doing this is because we wouldn't want to go in for a higher wetness, because when we are applying the wetness, it is going to kind of uh, uh, blur out the skin texture and flatten them, so we are going to remain with a plastic image. That's why we have to keep a wetness of 10 and below, and make sure the load is at 75, the mix at 90%, and the flow at 100%. Make sure sample all layers is not checked. So click on your color all of frequency layer. Remember it contains the skin tones, and uh, the skin tones or the color all mean the same. So you're going to make sure that they have smooth transitions between the skin tones. That's why we are going to blend them. So, and remember when you're mixing, make sure you mix the highlights alone, the midtones alone, and the shadows alone. Make sure you don't drag from the highlights to the shadows, because you are going to be distorting the original form of the portrait. So let's do this. And I don't want this tutorial to be a long one. So as you can see, guys, for the blemishes, I first of all leave my blemishes in the image, because when we're using the mixer brush tool, it kind of flattens most of the blemishes on the skin. So at the time of blemish removal, we are going to have less to do when we are removing the blemishes from our beautiful model. So, and make sure when you're mixing, don't over mix uh, a particular area for so long, because we may end up getting doubling this effect for our wetness. So make sure you're really careful and you don't totally zoom into your image. We want to get a reasonable size for blending the skin tones. I don't know if I make sense. So we want to mix the way someone is going to be looking at the image. So make sure you don't zoom all the way in. So let's check on our progress as usual by turning off this black and white layer and turning this on and off. You can see before after. You can see right on the forehead of our model we have blended that area pretty well. So let's come down below the neck area and we also blend it. So let me zoom out by clicking Ctrl minus on the keyboard, and now we blend the neck area of the model. So sometimes you may need the black and white layer and sometimes you may not. So let me put it back on because I want to see those particular areas I'm trying to blend really well. So let me do this fast enough. So after this, we are going to fine tune our frequency separation, and this time around we are also going to use the lasso tool method, because I found out that when you combine these two methods, they are really powerful, and they give the best and most amazing results in the images. So make sure you don't use the mixer brush tool alone if at all you want to get uh, one of the most perfect results from your frequency separation. So let me do this quicker, because I feel like I'm doing so much of the talking and I don't want you guys to be here for so long. So let me do this really fast. So I think we are done with that. So let me turn the black and white layer off, and we see a progress before after. You can see the image already looks amazing. So let's come to the black and white layer, click on it and drag it to the trash can, because right now we don't need it. So make sure you're still on your color all of frequency layer and come and select your lasso tool. For the feathering, we are going to use 18 pixels. Yeah, make sure you don't go above 18 to 20, because it may not feather out the selections really well. I don't know if I made sense there, but hope you guys understand. So let's zoom in so that we can get finer selections. So make sure you select an area that has make sure when you're selecting, make sure you select, yeah. And I forgot to show you guys, we are using the lasso tool right here. So come to the skin and now select only the skin. Make sure you don't select the eyebrows or the hair for the model. So do that, make a selection, then come right here to filter, then come to blur and Gaussian blur. So this is the trick. So as you can see right now, we use the radius of 10 for our mixer brush tool. So what I found out is when you multiply 10 by 3, you get 30, then 30 plus 2, you get 32. So whichever radius you may have used at the very start of your frequency separation, just multiply it by 3 and add 2 to that value. So maybe 10 times 3, you get 30, then plus 2, you get 32. So I found out that this really works pretty well. Yeah, 32. Or if at all you don't want to go through all this, make sure you slide this uh, until you get the best skin texture for your images. So just slide it, and you see if at all you pull it all the way, the skin will look ugly. So make sure you're really careful with this step, because you wouldn't want to overdo it. So like I said, you're going to be using a radius of 32 for this. Yeah, so this is the trick I have to share with you guys. So you can see the skin texture is still there and evident. So when you're making your selections, make sure you select according to the shape of that area. So right click and apply the effect, make a selection uh, like that, right click and apply the Gaussian blur. So this tutorial is about melanin skin retouching, and we are also going to be doing melanin skin tone color grading in Photoshop. So but all this tutorial is too long for you. Yeah, but I know after this your photography is going to be changed and transformed to a way better transformation. So you can see right now this is the before after, and you can see we still have the skin texture in our image. So if at all you want to apply maybe the effect right here and you apply it, you can see we have lost these highlights right here. And remember, now we have to fade this effect. Click Shift Control F and to bring this box, and now fade or reduce on the effect of the Gaussian blur we have applied there. So that is basically how you reduce the effect. So I had to show you guys that. Make a selection and apply. So what I have noticed about most retouchers is they tend to forget. I don't know if it's forgetting or deliberately not applying the effect on or retouching the neck and the chest areas. Yet it is also vital in the retouching process of our images or portraits. I'm sorry about the sound. I don't know what people are just knocking out there. So if at all you hear any sounds, so just apply that where you feel you may have missed out when you're using the mixer brush tool while you're trying to blend the skin tone. So I think we are done with this. So right now the next step you can see the before after you can see how beautiful this image is. So right now we're going to be removing the blemishes from our beautiful image. So come, and now we're going to be using both this spot healing brush tool, and we're also going to be using the clone stamp tool. For a spot healing brush tool, make sure you have selected your texture or high frequency layer because it contains the blemishes or the skin texture. So just dab over and make sure it is quite bigger than the blemish you're trying to remove. So for the blemishes, I'm going to kind of forward this step because I don't want this tutorial to be a long one for you. So let me forward and I'll see you in a bit. Yo, we'll be back, guys. I think I'm done with the cleaning and removing the blemishes from the image. You can see before, after. So right now we are done doing a frequency separation. So right now, what we're going to do, we're going to be doing a little bit of global dodging and burning. And for global dodging and burning, it simply adds dimension to the image, and it is more like contouring our beautiful image. So we're going to be using curves in Photoshop. So just come right here and create a curve adjustment layer. So when you create that, first of all, we have to darken. So when you darken, you can see the image is really dark now. So come and now make sure this is selected. Click Ctrl I, Command I for Mac. Then first of all, we are going to name this burn. Remember, when you're burning, you enhance the shadows, and when you're dodging, you enhance the highlights of the image. So initially, that is what global dodging and burning is. So this time around, click in the middle and now brighten. So make sure this is selected. Click Ctrl I to hide the effect. And now we are going to name this dodge. I'm getting the spelling wrong. Oops. So that is fine. So click on these two layers and click Ctrl G to put them in the group. So we can name this dodge and burn. I'm going to be using abbreviations. So this is it. So come right here, click on your dodge layer, and now come and create another black and white layer in there, and now darken it still. The reason for this is we want to know where to dodge and where to burn. So turn off your frequency separation layer to see where the initial highlights and shadows were for the image. So come to your brushes, make sure white is on the foreground, or you can just click and toggle right here, or you can reset to get these two colors right here by clicking here. So make sure white is on top, get your brush, make sure the opacity is around 10% and the flow at 100. So we are going to first of all enhance our light, the highlights. So click the dodge layer, and we are going to be revealing the effect that we had hidden right here. So we're going to reveal it. White reveals and black hides. So you're going to reveal using the white. So get your brush, increase And make sure when you're dodging and burning, you don't zoom in the image because we want to dodge the way someone is going to be looking at our portrait. So we are enhancing those particular areas using our white brush. So you're going to see the magic of this after we have finished our global dodging and burning. So just paint over where you see the highlight. Yeah, you can see I'm only enhancing the highlights for this particular image. So as you can see, that is fine. And now we are going to enhance the shadows for this image. So remember, the reason for doing this is when we are doing our frequency separation, it kind of darkens our images. So that's why we have to come back and do this, because we want to bring back the shape for the image. So I think we are done with that. Turn this off, you can see, and now turn back your frequency separation layer. You can see before, after, before, after. You can see the image now has shape and dimension. So come right here and now delete the black and white layer, because right now it is, sorry, I just duplicated it. Just drag it and delete this layer. So right now what we are going to do, let's do a little bit of color grading of this portrait. Come right down here, create a black and white layer, and as usual we are going to be using multiply. You can see now the model really looks melanated. So come and reduce on the opacity. We change the blending option to multiply, so reduce on the effect or the opacity of that. You can as well come and create another black and white layer if at all you wish, but I think let's do that. Come and create a black and white layer, and this time around we are going to still use this time around let's use overlay. So you can see now the melanin is now vivid in our image. So you can see now that is fine. So let's put these two in a group. So we are done with the color grading. Control G. We can name this color grading. Color grading. So I think we are done with that. So after this, now we want to add this little catch light in the eyes of the model. You can see, let's add that catch light right here in the eye of this model. So because the eye looks really plain black, so let's create a stamp visible layer by clicking Shift Ctrl E on the keyboard to create a stamp visible layer of all we have done. Shift Ctrl or Shift Command E. Yeah, Shift, no, it is Shift Ctrl Alt E on the keyboard. Yeah, Shift Ctrl Alternate E on the keyboard. So we can duplicate this, Ctrl J. So we have two layers right here. Come and get your brush. Make sure you reset it. Make sure it is a white brush, white on top, and leave the opacity and the flow at 100. That is the very first bit of it. Let's zoom in, and we are going to kind of create a catch light in the eye of the model, because it doesn't look really natural enough. So let's implicate or try to get this catch light, like there's a highlighter in this eye. So let's just paint over that. I think that is the wrong one, so let's get a better one. And now let's paint in the second eye. You can see now, right now the effect is too much. You can see it is too much. So come to opacity and turn down the opacity of this effect. You can see the before after, before after. So I think that is fine. So let's do one last thing, that is the eye and teeth whitening. So click Shift Alt Control E to create another stamp visible layer, and click Control or Command J. Come to filter and come to camera raw filter. So we are going to be using the adjustment brush in camera raw so that we can whiten the eyes and the teeth of our beautiful melanated model. And if at all you're loving this tutorial, don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if at all you haven't subscribed yet to our channel. So I don't know why my PC is really taking long to bring our camera roll, so let's wait a little bit longer. And guys, if at all you haven't subscribed and you have just landed onto this video, don't forget to subscribe. So let's zoom in by clicking right here and dragging or making that selection for the eye. So you can see now, come right here to get your adjustment brush and make sure the temperature is down because the eyes are warm. So we're going to slide it towards the blue. 18 is going to do for us, and the tint is at 69, and make sure the highlight is at 6, the white at 5, and saturation, because we're removing color from the white area of the eye, negative 71. So just simply paint over only and only on the white area of our model's eye. So you can see it is really doing a nice job. So you can as well come down to the teeth of the model and just paint over the and when you're painting over or whitening the teeth, make sure you paint over one individual tooth at a time. So just do that. You can see it is really doing a pretty nice job. So I think we are done with the eye and teeth whitening of the model. So just click OK. So let's group each and everything we have done. So first of all, let me put this in a group, Ctrl G. So you can see initially this was our image before frequency separation. So we did the frequency separation and we used the mixer brush tool and lasso tool method. And now we did the global dodging and burning to add shape and dimension to our portrait. You can see the before after, because frequency separation initially had flattened the image. So we also came and did the color grading. You can see before after, before after. We had to enhance her melanin skin tones, and now we did the eye and teeth whitening, and we also added this catch light in the model's eye. So initially, let's group all this, Ctrl G. So this is the before after, before after. So this tutorial has been about how to retouch melanin portraits in Photoshop, and we used frequency separation, we did global dodging and burning, we did the eye and teeth whitening in Photoshop. And if at all you love this tutorial, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to hit the like button, and don't forget to hit the notifications bell when you do subscribe. And this image was taken by Brandon Unfella. I'm going to put his link in the description of this video. And I'm known for Melanin Photography. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in yet another retouching tutorial on this channel, and stay safe.